Well, for the first time in many, many years, the first show in the Northwest this season is in Canada. So I've just been to Scotiabank and got some very pretty money. We call these Benjamins. I guess here they must call them Bordens. Although I have to say, Prime Minister Borden was a little better looking than Benjamin Franklin.
We're headed to New Westminster, British Columbia, where the show is. And there's our sign.
We're in Queen's Park. It looks very pretty. I've never been here. I've never attended an antique show in Canada before. So this will be something new. Let's go in and see what there is. We are paying a $20 get-in early fee. But every time I've tried to go to a show in Canada before, I've ended up getting held up at the border and traffic, and I've ended up missing it. So I decided to come to the preview night tonight. And there is the late Queen in holographic image. Try not to get distracted by the hockey playoffs. This is the biggest show in the Vancouver area every year. There's a handful of antique shows here. And you're going to see a lot of things that are of local interest, of course, like all these local BC transit patches. Army Jeeps, these are friction powered. Now remember, the Canadian dollar is about 73 cents American. So the prices are lower than they seem. Wonderful robe made out of a Hudson's Bay blanket. Hudson's Bay is going away, unfortunately, and so these have become really prized. They already were popular. And they have a neat Shell oil sign as well. A bunch of various brass and hardware. A lot of these look like Victorian or early 20th century pieces. And there's this. We're going to inquire about this piece because it is Ottoman Empire. I bought John Perry up here before. The Pelican is the equivalent of $15 US, which is not a bad price. That could go to Florida. There's the dolphins. And here's something I rarely see, which is the card with the information about the studio in Oxnard, California. Made of pellucida, which is basically their resin compound. And there's Mr. Perry. He's still doing this today. A lot of these pieces are discontinued, though. Some nice jewelry here. This one says it's marked US Zone Germany, so that's late 40s. This is an attractive looking bracelet here. I'll have to ask the price on that. And there's a confetti snap bracelet there as well. I took some of these to the bank today, some of these obsolete coins, and they will take them at the banks up here. They won't take them in the US, even if they're current. This is what the dollar used to look like. Oh, and these are the pasties the strippers wore back in the 60s when they couldn't bear all. $15. And then it's 72 cents on the dollar. If the rhinestones were all there, I would have to buy those. But I promise I'll spare you the demonstration. And the confetti snap bracelet, this is 15, which is about the equivalent of 11 US, which is certainly cheap enough. If it's not too worn out, I'll take this. Look how cute the handkerchiefs are to my dear wife, Duchess of Bedford. And here's one from Vancouver. This looks like the totem poles in Stanley Park. Very sweet. This guy is a bottle opener. I think they covered up the part that does it. Arabia, 1983. These are various finish scenes. Oh, I have the Swarovski clown for sale too. I think their price is better than mine, to be honest, and I love the toucan. Not sure what he's going for. Lucite grapes are popular everywhere. 65 is about the equivalent of 45 American, and I sell them for that. All books half the marked price. Plain Home Talk and Embracing Medical Common Sense. Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. Among the Kentucky Mountaineers. 1921. I would take that to Kentucky. Well, the first two spaces, I bought something, so that's a pretty good percentage. And I'm in front of the New Westminster Royals minor league hockey trophy case. Apparently they've done well. Okay, a little more jewelry here. This looks like it could be Florenza. Oh, it's Avon, actually. But they had some good companies make for them, so I look at Avon now. This is nice with the Aurora Borealis as well. Priced at $25. On down there, and I remembered walking around Nelson and just... That's a pretty piece of Austrian bisque. Painted in a way that looks rather like amphora from about 1900. We have some cute Beswick figures. I like the wolfhound. The cat is nice. Equivalent price is about $30, about $20 And then the box is Beswick as well. Their designs were very, very realistic. They would have people study animals in the field before they made a single piece. Nice little stamp box from the Art Nouveau period. You'd keep your 1, 2, and 3 cent stamps in there back when that's what postcards, local letters, and long-distance letters cost. This is Carlton Ware from Scotland, a nice little bank. This is a souvenir of Holyrood Palace. Only $15, that actually seems pretty good. And that's your release for the bills to come out. Very pretty 1920s Medicinal. They have 65, which is the equivalent of about 45. Look how beautiful the Royal Dux nude is. The nudes are some of the best things they made. This one is priced at $365, which would be equivalent of about $225. She's worth every penny. This is a very pretty, delicate little box that's hand-painted. And this one is Heron. From Hungary, we're seeing a lot of interest in Heron now. Cute little half dolls. Price is around $22 American. And a nice compact here.
When it's good stuff like
The equivalent of $15 on that nice silhouette. I always look at enamelware now. It seems like it's becoming very popular. I don't know who the artist is. The square label could have been Anne Marie Davidson, but it doesn't really look like quite her quality. Behind it we have the royalty commemorative, Queen Alexandra and King Edward VII. He had about 8 years on the throne, much like King Charles. He came to it rather late in life. Very pretty Venetian glass shoes here with the Latticino work. This paperweight has some sort of a signature. Some of these can be kind of obscure. Oh, Phoenix glass. Oh, yes. Interesting. I've heard of this studio. And at $20 and then the discount for the exchange rate, I think that's rather a good deal. Interesting Scottish pin here. The sterling ones go for the most, but this is a nice kilt pin in the dagger form, priced at 38 Canadian. Of all the watches here, this one with the modernist design is the most fascinating to me. It's $40. This is a BC pottery out of the 1950s and 60s called Lambert. We don't see a ton of this. It was mainly distributed locally. The whale is supposed to look ethnographic. There it is, the killer whale, or orca. Another couple of nice mid-century enamel pieces. I like the one with the deer. And then this one with the leaves is nice, the ashtray. GV, this is not a familiar company to me. I would love to see more scholarship on enamelware because a lot of different companies did it. One thing I notice is how substantial they are. This one is much lighter than the first one I picked up. So maybe not as well made, but it is a good Canadian signature from Burt. And an interesting design. Withers Sporting Bridge, this is an English jug. The North American ones do better in our part of the world, but you will see a lot of English ones because a lot was exported to Canada back in the early days. Here's a different piece of McCoy. We see this textured where I just sold a vase in it. They're asking the equivalent of 45 American, and it's a picture. I've not seen that before. And then I'm curious to see if this might be one of the medicine hat potteries. Ah, no, German. Interesting. Pre-war German, great color. This, on the other hand, looks like Medalta in the corner, the way that it's done. With the birds, I have a Dutch piece that's similar, and sure enough, there's the Medalta mark. Medicine Hat, Alberta was the home of 3 or 4 potteries that produced commercially in the 20th century. I haven't even gotten in the main hall. I've been in 3 spaces and I bought 4 things. This could be a very expensive trip. With tariffs, if I go over my $800 personal exemption, we're going to pay an extra 25%. So unfortunately, we have to think a little differently these days about those things. This is from the old Hotel Vancouver. It's Royal Doulton, who did restaurant ware for various hotels back in the day. These are pot lids. You see a lot of them from England. And 2 of them have Victoria in her younger years, the cherry toothpaste. Both of them patronized by the Queen. That's why she had such lovely teeth, I guess. People would collect these and throw away the pots. So you see a lot of lids now that are potless. If you see both pieces together, that's a good thing. $60 is about 45 US. Very interesting collection of bottles from Holland. And I see the open pontal here. So 1750s, eh? Wow. That's quite impressive. Oh, that's so interesting. Obviously hand blown from top to bottom. And with that embossing, would that be also
1870s?
Wonderful. Wow. And all of these are Dutch?
Pretty well, yeah.
Yeah. First time I've ever seen a collection of them. Thank you. It's a nice 1920s tapestry that is not a zine. It's actually a paisley design, which I rather prefer. You could have worn this as a shawl. It's rather soft. In fact, now that I'm looking at it, I think it was a shawl. And they show it as a furniture throw. And they're asking the equivalent of about $37 US for it. Look at these interesting pieces. The whale looks like Nootka on the other side of the Strait of Juan de Fuca in Washington. We would assume the caw. And the hat is a wonderful piece made out of cedar. Not sure this is Blue Mountain. I think it may be one of the other Canadian potteries from the 70s. Yes, that's right. It's Canadiana pottery. A little thinner than Blue Mountain. But this is a hockey arena ordinarily, and we're going to walk through the glass onto the ice. Thankfully, no ice today, but a ton of people. You know, I wasn't sure being a preview if it would be very crowded, but this is the biggest show of the year in this area, and it looks like it. I sense that we're about to have a lot of fun. If you're having fun watching, well, please hit thumbs up to let YouTube know. And please do subscribe if you haven't, and click that bell to be notified of future videos. Queen Anne chocolates, wow. That's really neat. They say circa 1933. I love the walking duck. They've got the equivalent of about $1,100 on that, but I'm sure it's rather scarce. Two-way, exciting mixer. I've never heard of two-way. This must be something regional from this part of the world. Another Royal Doulton piece. This is for riding in carriages or having in a drafty home. The improved foot warmer from the Lambeth pottery, and it was sold through Eaton's, another Canadian retailer that disappeared. This would have been sold sometime around 1900 or 1910. It wasn't just booze that did this sort of thing with the bottle displays. This is the Squirt Boy. Just call me Squirt with the bottle. That's pretty neat. They have it priced at $265 Canadian. It looks like it's in great shape. $75 each on these old calendars. Peter's cartridge. That would be collectible for a number of reasons. Maybe you just love dogs, or maybe you love gun-related items. Tribute to a dog. This guy's not making his dogs work at all. About the equivalent of $450 each on the Nesbitt's Orange and the Coca-Cola. Signs have gotten very expensive here as everywhere else. The Aquatron, this is similar to the Wellfron devices, and this one has genuine 8-track as well as AM and FM, and that's a pretty neat piece from about 1970. Priced at the equivalent of about $120. The fun of being at a show you've never been before is seeing something you've never seen before. I really like this brass and bronze combination with the cherubs. This looks like something from the early 20th century. Priced at $375 Canadian, which is approximately $300 American. And peanut butter tins. Very collectible. They have a whole bunch of Squirrel brand. Squirrel brand is not a familiar brand to me. That's also part of the fun of being somewhere else, is you're going to see things that you're not used to seeing in your home area, like Barton's White Carnation Jordaning and North Star Pure Lard from Vancouver. Ojibwa Fine Cut Tobacco, that's a neat graphic. And then they've got a ton of Japanese windups from the 1950s in the original boxes. These are very collectible now. The Tricycling Clown, Peter Rabbit by Cragston. You've got Cubby the Reading Bear. That doesn't sound entirely exciting, although it was just National Book Day yesterday. Crash and Crap Shooting Monkey. He's having fun. And his friend Chimpy, who plays drums and cymbals. I bet that was annoying. Jumbo the Bubble Blowing Elephant. These are just so great because of the graphics, let alone the way that the pieces work. And because they're in the original boxes, there's a chance that any or all of these work, although some of them never worked in the first place, even when they were new. A couple of fun things on this table. I really like this table lighter, which I believe is Italian glass. Yeah, they show it as Murano. And it's not inexpensive, but then again, I wouldn't expect it to be. And then these are by Camark from Arkansas. They're asking the equivalent of $30 each. They have the Grapette logo on them because Grapette was made in Camden, Arkansas as well. So they did these as promotions. This one says Setter.
50 is a good deal.
And that one is the pointer. I'm not sure what he's using to point. A nice little cigarette case you could use for business cards now. Back then they didn't have filters, so cigarettes were small. And that is King George V and Queen Mary, who succeeded Edward. This is a really cool piece. The seal with the ball on his nose. It has a 1930s patent date. They're asking almost $500, but that's because when you open this up, you're going to see, well, I've got to be very careful. There we go. There's your lighter. Really neat piece. As is this wonderful 1910s carved humidor. They have a number of advertising lighters. I like this mold that they have them in too. Great way to display them. One of the other shoppers is looking at them. I'm going to give him access and stay out of his way. On the back of the table is a really cool Swiss Air piece. I see a lot of Boeing chrome ashtrays. I've never seen the Swiss Air before. They're asking about $350 for that. This gentleman is a viewer, and this is what he's looking at. They offered it for 25 Canadian. I think it's a pretty good deal, and it's cool. And do you mind saying again why you like it?
Oh, so I'm a huge Royal Dux fan, and Carvey Keitel, he references Chesterfields. He offers them to one of the other, mom members.
Yeah.
And that's always stuck in my brain. And that's kind of what I always associate cigarettes with. It's my first time seeing Chesterfields being mentioned.
Yeah.
In any kind of advertising or anything like that. So
I wouldn't think you'd see a lot because up here you mostly see players.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, how cool. Are you camera shy?
No.
Oh,
sure.
And tell me your name again.
It's Joseph.
Joseph, it's so nice to meet you, and I'm so glad you're enjoying the channel, and thank you for sharing your find.
Absolutely. And I got to say, it's an honor meeting you in person in the real world outside of...
Well, I feel the same because to me, it's like, this is what it's all about, is that we all share the love. So wonderful to meet you. And here is this very pretty Moriaga vase. The early Moriaga has very delicate beading, usually very nice hand painting. This one has the Morimura Brothers mark, so it was a Nippon piece, but made for export to North America. I wonder what their price on that is. Most of their stuff is marked, but when you're doing a show, and I'm certainly guilty, if you're in a hurry, you just put it out and figure people can ask. English cup and saucers run the gamut, and there are so many here in some beautiful patterns. This one is a later piece, but this one is 1950s, and that's Paragon, a very good brand. And that one's 25. That one's probably the most premium one in this grouping, along with the chintz in the back there. Wonderful prices on the Carlton Ware. I just think this is so neat looking. It's got an Australian design registration applied for, and why? They weren't worried about Australia copying them, they were worried about Japan copying them. Japan did not have an agreement with England after the Second World War not to make knockoffs, but they did have with Australia. These prices are really good on these, only $6, $5 Canadian. It's tempting to buy the whole stack. I just think these are really nice. They're all hand-painted. They have this nice glossy aspect. Only 10 for the big bowl. I already have a handful. I'll have to remember this. This piece is Royal Crown Derby. You can tell by the Amari style decoration. It's about $9.50 US. That's actually pretty good. I'm seeing so many things that are affordable. $6 on this. I've sold these for as much as 15 to 20 in the United States. This is where the Alaska Highway starts. Dawson Creek. All right, these are only $6. I am just curious to see who made them because they look sort of like Wade, and well, sure enough, they are Irish Wade. I have a family member who collects. I wonder if she would enjoy these. Also, really think these guys are cute. Now, are they old? Well, they're Goebel. And they're only $12 Canadian for the cream and sugar, which is roughly equivalent to about $9.50 US. I'm really tempted by those two. Look how cute she is with her wings, the little flapper, made in Germany around 1930, priced at 25 Canadian. $6 on the Tiffy God lighter. Wow, okay. Well, they got me on this one. Their prices are really good. I realize this isn't extraordinary rare stuff, but I can't leave that for that price. They also have a very nice little chamber stick by Cauda Pottery, Candir Factory. I don't know what the price on this one is, but I'm going to ask since I see a lot of other things I like. This is a primitive pestle. Says found at Bristol Island, west of Hope, BC. Priced at $2.50. Yeah, this is definitely from the pioneer days or possibly even from native culture. A bronze of Napoleon as emperor. It's Canadian Pacific back when they had the airways. That one's priced at 50 Canadian for local interest. A very nice ship's compass. This one looks like Second World War by Brown and Son. These look like they're from the 1930s or 40s or 50s, and they're interesting in the shadow boxes, little sulfides. $20 each. Well, the Vancouver Whitecaps are off to a really great start this year in soccer. This is from the first time they won the championship back in the NASL days, 1979. I remember how excited people here were. This is a very interesting plot because it shows different time zones. At noon, at midnight, local time pointing to Hawaii in this case. Carpet balls were a fun Victorian game. Made as a nice porcelain.
Little South lady.
These are Welsh miners' lamps. Only $20 on this. That's actually a very good price. Well, I may have to make a trip to the car at the rate I'm going. A bunch of steamship ashtrays and hotel ashtrays. Our friends Bargain Barons live in Regina, and that is where the Museum for the Mounties is. And all of these are things that might have been sold in their souvenir shop. The candy tin was sold all over, including in the United States. Canadian National Railway spittoon. I sold one of these last year that I found in Ohio. For Hotel Vancouver dishes. That was part of the Canadian National system of railways and hotels. Butter pats are a fun thing to collect. It's not expensive. If you don't have room for plates, well, you might have room for these. Ah. And they have the same ashtray, but a little more expensive in this space. And here we are, Hudson's Bay Company, 1930s dinnerware piece from their cafe. The bay will be missed. Like the bird's eye maple frame, and this is a wonderful embroidery sampler. Look at the colors, look at the design, and look how young the woman who did this. Kezia Wild, her work, aged 12, 1842. I think I'd have to work 12 years at this to learn how to do it. This one's very sweet too. This would have been a fireplace screen, also a sampler. And this one's a little later, Victorian era, but isn't that beautiful with the bird? This is a very stylish piece, also of Hauda Pottery. One of the more popular of the companies that made them, in a nice large piece, priced at $175. And this is Moorcroft. Very pretty English pottery. This is a rather large piece with the signature, and a smaller piece here. By appointment to the late Queen Mary. Queen Mary was George V's wife, and she was quite a collector. And if she came to your house and you were nobility and she liked something, if she said she liked it, you were expected to give it to her. So she wasn't really a favored guest in a lot of the nobility's homes. This is a very nice late Meiji period Japanese bronze. Really well done. You can see the patina, how it's been polished and rubbed just a little bit on the head. That gives you an indication of the age. For fun and interesting advertising pieces. Empress was a Vancouver company. I see these tins from time to time in the States. Turret pipe tobacco was made in Liverpool, England. And Baghdad coffee. So these are brands we don't see so much in the US. And here we go, another Alberta ceramics company. This crock is by Sunburst Ceramics. Price of the equivalent of $125 with the lid. I would think that'd be about what we would see on a Red Wing piece of that size with the lid and the handles. These glass animals are Boda from Sweden, a little lighter and a little clearer than the Viking counterparts from the United States. This is just before Costa and Boda moved. This one actually has its label, so you can see that it still says Boda. So this is sometime around 1970. They're only asking $25 each. I'm seeing collectors for these now. Royal Doulton Bunnykins is so cute. Barbara Vernon came up with the designs in 1936. There's her mark on the side. Some of these are long out of production. Some nice paperweights here. This might be a Caithness. Let's see if it's marked.
Cannot play Paperweights on this.
Oh, well, thank you.
See. People say, well, why are you saying that? I said, what's the fun? That's the fun of the whole thing.
It's nice to be able to take something home, isn't it?
If you're happy, it's different than I'm happy.
Well, that is the way it should be. That's how I do it too. And this is nice because it's not the acid mark, it's actually etched. So this one is a little better made.
This big woman is rare.
Oh yes, this is a harder pattern to find in the Caithness, you're right. But honestly, my favorite is this little one, and with your lovely offer, I will take it. She has these very interesting Biarritz plates as well. So beautiful. I love the crown ducal. Look at the butterfly. Yeah, this has to be 1920s.
Yeah.
Made for Lolly's Pottery in Stoke. Huh. They really did nice things. I mean, the Shelley is very nice, but dollar for dollar,
This is so art.
it's so artful. And look how sweet this silhouette is with the silver background and color. That's a little bit more unusual. Fort Garry Brewing in Winnipeg. Now that's a neat barrel. Canada did not have full prohibition as we did. There was a time when you could not get hard alcohol here. That's why a lot of people went to Canada in the Prohibition era. More fun graphics and some brands that we're not used to seeing. Nabob was a local brand here in Vancouver. This is an early piece from about 1920. Edmondson's Carnival Assorted. I'm sure that was lovely candy. And look how beautiful this Art Nouveau tin is with the woman. A couple of talcum powder tins. They're really starting to go for cardboard advertising signs because the tin litho and those other pieces are just so hard to find and so expensive now, the enameled. And finding this one, which was a two-piece in this kind of condition, is difficult. You can tell that it was stored in two separate pieces and then hinged together. This is from the 1930s. Oh, look at the great feather hat. Because feathers are delicate and I'm at a show, I won't do what I would usually do and put it on, but it's very sweet for $20. Next to it is this Bilo baby. We see these on both sides of the border. Grace Putnam did the design around 1910. That's priced at $125 Canadian. I know we have Flow Blue fans. You do see Flow Blue in Canada because it came to them just as it came to us in the United States. It went to all the colonies. This is Oriental, a pattern from about 1840. I haven't seen a lot of Fenton. You do see it sometimes here. This one would absolutely fluoresce under a black light, and it's a dogwood, which is the provincial flower of British Columbia. Minitoys is a Canadian company. This one has been restored. Well, I say that. It may be a perfect original, but I think it's had restoration. Look at the cool license plate from the Northwest Territory shaped as the bear, and so few people live there that you see big prices on these when you find them. Sailboat, cobalt blue glass, and chrome were very big in the 1930s, and this ashtray, I used to see it a lot more. I don't so much anymore. This is priced at the equivalent of about $35. Our future king, but not for long. This is Edward, the Prince of Wales, when he was quite young, probably about the time of his investiture. He, of course, ended up being Edward the Abdicator, because he wanted to marry Wallis Simpson. Well, as they say, membership does have its privileges, and if you become a member of the Antique Nomad on the level 2 or 3, either on the regular site or through Patreon, it really helps the channel, and you'll get early access to videos, bonus content, member chat. So check it out. The membership links are below the dashed line in the description of this video. If you needed a foot warmer, you probably needed a bed warmer too. Old Fulham is the pottery on the left, and this one is a Doulton. The Thermet from about 1905, just after they became Royal Doulton. The Ironstone has Calgary and a horseshoe. Matic and Sons. I wonder if that might possibly have had something to do with the Stampede. I really like these table lighters here with the world on that. And this one just has such a great design. I believe this may be a Ronson. Yes. You can tell by the design at the bottom. $45 is actually a pretty good price when you make the adjustment. The 1930s Beswick piece. English Art Deco is a little different than American. You get the concentric rings and you get the design, but the way they put it together was just different. And you can kind of see that with the round handles on the round form with the rings here. A rather good price on this cranberry glass muffinier from about 1890. EPNS, of course, is electroplated nickel silver, so not a silver top, but a very pretty piece for the equivalent of about $30 US. I'm hearing dealers here saying similar things to what we hear in the US about people being interested in things that have been out of fashion for a while. And what I'm hearing the dealers talk about here is that people are starting to buy the English cups and saucers again, which is good because they're quite prolific here.
These mucklucks are newer. You can tell by the color of the beading and really the overall condition and the fact that they're especially fancy, but they're really nicely done and very collectible and worth some money.
Of course, people made it down the coast to American attractions like the 1940 World's Fair. This is a Homer Laughlin ashtray from that time. A wonderful R. Lalique piece. Rene Lalique, this has his name with the R initial, which means it was made during his lifetime. That puts it in another level for collectors. And here is the apex of the Carlton Ware with those fun floral designs from right after the Second World War. The big relish dish with the center area for serving.
Hereford Fine China
is a company we don't run into in the United States much, but this is wonderfully done. Look at the modeling. Look how delicate it is. They have a certificate of authenticity. This was a limited edition here. They even had the director sign it. They were very proud of this piece, done sometime around 1970. Most of the months of the Royal Doulton month series, you can get one for your birth month, anniversary month, etc., or collect all 12. Star Trek was more popular in syndication than it was when it was a new show, and this AMT model came out sometime in the 1970s when the syndicated TV show started to really pick up an audience. And that's why we ended up with all the movies and all the toys and everything since. Did not want to interrupt the people who were shopping because they bought one of the planes. They had some very interesting ones. The bullnose rabbit plane is rather old, but I wanted to show this because this is Canadian-made Stanley, and there are collectors in the States who look for these as well because they didn't make them in the same quantity, and so there's interest because of that. And there you see the Made in Canada label. They did make the 191 in the States as well. I like the old seltzer bottles, different colors, interesting etchings. This one talks about how it got awards for excellence at the World's Fair. I'm not sure which World's Fair. Canada did not have a World's Fair until the Montreal Expo. This one is Crossing Company from Vancouver. This one is Crystal Springs from London. We see that in the States as well. This one's from Ontario. What a wonderful graphic, the spider and the fly game. I wonder who catches who. This looks like something from an ancient civilization. It's actually an ice bucket made in the 1950s and 60s with a bronze patina. This is a later Coro piece from the Pegasus line. This one is priced at $40 Canadian, which is about $30 US. Oh, and they have some Renoir copper jewelry too. I haven't seen this cuff before, and I've seen a lot of this. $45 is a fair price for that in good condition. You have to make sure these aren't scratched, and they seem like they're all in very clean condition. And I will try to keep them that way. One of my favorite pieces of Alberta pottery is this. I've sold this one before. We Shall Not Flag. This is Winston Churchill. This one is done by the Medalta Company again. It was done right at the beginning of Canada's involvement in the Second World War, which started in 1939.
No. 9.
This is interesting to me. This is Mosier, and it's something that you would have gotten if you were a member of their club. Copyright Mosier, Czechoslovakia. Physiognomical miniature snifters. And they have the Mosier label and everything, so I guess the idea was a different one for each purpose. Interesting set. $5.25 Canadian. Here is a nice old powder horn. It is real horn. It has a real plug. This was indeed for antique muskets. You put the powder in here and carry it with you. We see a lot of reproductions of these, but that one's real. What a beautiful enameled spoon. This is David Anderson of Norway, and it's plique jour, meaning look through it, it's like glass. The enamel is in suspension. If you drop it, it's broken, and that's it.
Oh, that makes sense.
This is an early piece for David Anderson of Norway. I know him more for the 20th century enameled jewelry pieces. The Kodak developing sign is great. That would have hung in front of some drugstore or someplace that, a camera shop or someplace that did that work. Behind you see a car license topper from the Okanagan Valley, a wonderful area not far from here, the next valley inland, right north of Central Washington. And like Central Washington, it is a big fruit-producing region. Ogilvy's Royal Household Flour was Canada's best flour, according to these rolling pins. And they did advertising jugs, or have them done for them by stoneware makers, for all sorts of stores all over the country. And this is a big collection of them. I wanted to show this because we see so little Miriam Haskell that's older with all the wiring to hold all those little rhinestones. It was very complicated. We see a lot of later pieces that have the name that were not done in the original style. That's why this one is priced as it is. Now here's a more studied raku piece by Tony Evans. As raku gets better in North America, you start seeing really controlled designs, great shapes. There's the signature. This is definitely somebody to look for. A lot less muddy than the early pieces, and different than the Japanese raku as well. Interesting, I've seen these wall phones before, but the gentleman just showed me this swivels. So depending which direction you were facing, I guess you just turned it towards you to dial your number.
You mount it anywhere, I guess, on a wall or desk or something.
Exactly. Oh, that's fascinating. From about 1960. That's really cool. Cable, yes, the enamel. Yeah, somebody disturbed it. Now here's a Venn piece we'd like to see more. This is the canary yellow, like the original Vaseline glass. Theirs is the yellow opalescent. And they've got this priced at $125. I believe that was a late 50s color when they first started to get to use the uranium again. Now this is unusual. You don't see blue in caster sets. You see a lot of clear like this. You see a lot that started to turn lavender like this because it's been out in the sun, as have all of these pieces. You see cranberry. But I can honestly say I have never seen a blue set before. They have that priced at the equivalent of about $120 US.
One of the great things of going to antique shows is meeting some of the people who watch the channel, and it was so delightful to run into several viewers here at the BC show. I can't wait to go back.
Wow, this is neat. So this is from a bicycle carrier?
Yeah, this is the Vancouver-New
Wow. Yes, that's right. How neat. Oh my gosh. That is super cool. I've seen one of these in my whole career, and now I've seen two in this show. So they must have been distributed in Canada, made in Germany about 1930, the Bing Piggy phone. And when you open it up, it is a really miniature record player, which is pretty cool. It's coconut cookies, back when coconut was spelled this way too, sometime around 1940. I love store displays. And these are really neat too. Canada Dry, the champagne and ginger ales, and the extra sparkle club soda, 15 cents. Those are really great displays. And yes, there are a lot of Canada Dry collectors in Canada, of course, but there's a lot in the US as well. Here is a big line of trench art. Verdun in France, which was one of the most tragic battlefields of history. And there's a couple from Verdun. They had a lot of time between battles to make these things. It's a beautiful and fascinating testament to a very difficult and horrible time. This is Roseville Vista. This is a rather hard to find window box, and very nicely for it, the original owners used a liner. So the piece itself is so in good condition. It's priced at about $350 American, maybe a little more, and they are that hard to find. I just bought the platter that goes with this. This is India tree. Now this set is by Crown Ducal, and it has the exotic bird, whereas my platter was by Cole Court. This is neat. This is a coach for hire, in other words, bus tickets, $145. This fellow has a lot of confiscation items from the Nazis because he ran a store in Victoria dedicated to militaria for about 30 years. Victoria used to have an antique row. Now there's just a few shops. Great candlestick phone. This is Northern Electric, made in Canada. We see more Britain's lead soldiers here, although they are definitely something that was distributed in the United States as well. This is from the Pan American World's Fair in Buffalo in 1901. That's why the Buffalo. Nice little paperweight. This might be one of my favorite pincushions ever. It's bronze. Amazing they would use such a good material for a relatively utilitarian thing. They have the equivalent of $75 on that. Dog here. It seems like a cute chalkware, but then you pick it up and it's actually metal. A Canadian-made bottle opener from the 50s. And look at the beautiful portrait in the bottom of this bride's basket from about 1890. I've been seeing a lot of hockey cards at the show. These are older ones. The team card for the Chicago Blackhawks sometime in the 70s. 1977. Vancouver connects the old logo from their early days. Steve Schutt, most goals in the season for the left wing from the Canadiens, one of my favorite teams. Am I allowed to say that? Because we think of ball jars in the United States, but there were lots of other companies. Cure Economy you see in the States, but you see this one, Hamilton Glassworks from Canada. That's a very hard one to find. Erie Lightning.
You're recording them all, eh?
They're beautiful.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, you have so many brands I'm not familiar with being from the States. I like the beaver, but this was especially impressive.
That's the earliest Canadian jar, 1865.
1865, interesting. So not long after the Mason's patent. I like showing some of the Canadian-made things because, you know, we have had international trade for a very long time, and there will be occasions where you might have something cross your path, and you would definitely like to know that it's valuable. Just because it's not something you've seen before doesn't mean there's not a customer.
Julia in 1968 was the first television show to show a black woman as a lead character who had a professional job and was not a domestic. The lunch pail is $1.10.
Now here is this same shaker again, priced at $45, which is more where I would expect it to be. That makes me think I should go back and get the other one. Lots of fun rhinestones here. I like this one because it looks like it might be Alexandrite glass. It certainly has the Aurora Borealis sparkle. The big brand name in Canada that they're all looking for all the time is Sherman. And we see it in the US on occasions. And boy, it sells for good money on both sides of the border. In fact, there is a Sherman piece right there. Look how fun these Flower Power 1970s patio lanterns are in the original box. It'd be so fun to use them, but I'd hate to take them out of the box. Barometer with the Zodiac signs. This is going to be from about 1970 when all things Zodiac were so popular. It's priced around the equivalent of $35 and would hang like a pendant on the wall. That seems like a pretty good deal. These one sheets, which are the small ones, are definitely popular to collect, especially when they are 50s era space themes. This one is from 1953. You can see the number there in the corner. That first number tells the date. If there's a slash in another date, then it's a reprint from the later of the two. When the end is it going to be strawberry? That's just fun. This is something to do with the First World War because I see bullets and airplanes and barbed wire, so I guess they're in the trenches and they're stuck eating the same thing every day. You have a little information on it from eBay on the back here. I'll be gentle, but I'd like to see what they say about it. This is a Winton piece. Not Minton, but Winton. From the Grimwade's factory. Barnes Feather Old Bill novelty plate. That is just fun. I've never seen this piece before. a pile of Union Jacks. I'm sure this makes out into a long strand of them. Probably would have been flown at the end of the Second World War in celebration. Love the gold doorknobs. This is rather nice, and you know, I'll bet it might fluoresce because it's Victorian, and it looks to me that this is a Vaseline glass trim here. Unfortunately, the handle is off on this piece. It looks like it needs screws, but that is a nice piece that I think would be rather interesting under a black light. And I love the tray here. This metalwork looks like something 1920s or 30s. Just love the colors. That would be so great to have in Florida. A fun aftermarket racehorse hood ornament here. Well, isn't this fun? A bunch of frame postcards. I've had these a few times where they have the fabric, but they are all various dancers doing various traditional dances. Most of these are Spanish. Just beautiful. This is from the 1950s, and it's really quite a presentation altogether. I always like these. The first one I ever bought was from the Canadian Bank of Commerce, now the Canadian International Bank of Commerce. They added that to their name. They've gone up in value quite a bit. Now, I'm surprised I don't see more quintuplet things in Canada than I do in the United States. But there's one when they were just little girls. Emile, Marie, Yvonne, Annette, and Cecile from McGavin's Bakery. They had a tough life. The Canadian Rockies, this is going to be a tour book showing the wonderful hotel at Lake Louise. I've been there. It's just beautiful. The water is more blue than you can imagine. This is really neat. I'm used to seeing the Hershey's version in the States. This is Stafford's Fountainette, where you have all of your different sundae toppings in here. This is from an old restaurant, and I'd say probably right around 1950 or 55, and they are asking $4.50 Canadian for this. There can't be a lot of these left in existence. This variegated color with the green rhinestone eyes is actually different than what we usually see in the Panthers. And this is fun. I'm surprised I've never seen this before. They took from the Old Sands Hotel in Reno a bunch of dice and made it into a cribbage board by drilling holes in the acrylic dice. Very clever. Expo 86 beanbag ashtray. Expo was just fantastic. The only World's Fair I've gotten to attend. It was just wonderful. How neat the angelfish lamp from the 1930s is, priced at $130. What a special Art Nouveau piece with the mermaids, the Art Nouveau calling card tray. That is just gorgeous. And Glow Hill, made in Montreal, 1950s through, I believe, the early 80s. This is a cherry Bakelite, after Bakelite wasn't really being used in the United States much anymore. A little bit of a different reformulation. Love the snack tray with the plates for the beverages, only $28. $95 on the full set here. It's a mining in British Columbia, so you'll see mining stuff like you see in Kentucky and other mining centers. $40 on this. This one's a Bullard. The hard-boiled hat, I love the ridges. They're asking $50 Canadian. This fun box is Japanese lacquerware from about 1910. A little chippy as it tended to get, but actually that's in pretty good shape overall. The handles there. Nice design. Brewster's Son, little grandfather clock in a chinoiserie design, but made in Europe. That should date to about 1900. Cool brutalist mirror from about 1970. Haven't seen that design before. Hello, everybody, by the way. A nice old wooden English fishing reel. These are very stately on the shelf. A lot of people collect these both sides of the border. This one's priced at the equivalent of about $36 American. Parks had a Canadian branch as well. They were the world's largest manufacturers of toys, and so they had a factory here in Toronto as well. And this is all of the furniture. It looks like it's the Disney variety. I see Donald Duck in the corner there. This is very pretty. This is good quality Lesterware. Another Grimwade's Buzanta ware. 1920s, priced at $75. So shiny and striking. The rhinestone belts, one of them is bigger than the other, one of them is also whiter than the other. Another pretty Royal Winton piece from about 1930 with a lustrous finish. And here's the Buzanta ware in the candles. Nice to see so many pieces, and really $40 when you take the conversion is rather reasonable. Nice row of smoking stands with slag glass. This one has the lighter mounted on top. priced at $265. This one doesn't appear to light up like the other ones do. The one with the airplane is especially hard to find, and they have that one priced over $1,000, and I can see why. Some wonderful Art Deco lighting as well. And then this crazy thing from the 50s with the fiberglass insert, priced at $275 Canadian. West clocks, if you only have the center of the propeller, well, that's what that clock looks like. I've seen these before cut down like that. Matthew Harris to Canada was like John Deere to the United States. The pony is a cool piece here. And this one was actually made probably in the 1970s. I see Massey Harris tractors in the States as well. Slippers from the 1960s, King of the Water. No one you see is smarter than he. I believe that's the way the song went. There can't be many of these left. They're priced at $65 Canadian. A hockey lamp cover for your kids' room when Edmonton was at their peak of success, when the Winnipeg Jets were the first incarnation before they left and then came back, when the Flames were new to Calgary, having moved from Atlanta, and when the Vancouver Canucks had the orange and black logo. Ladies and men, that would be considered sexist now. But in the 1950s, that and a clean bathroom was all anybody wanted. Lots of fun things that a younger collector is interested in. And this is great because this is helping get people interested in collecting who haven't done before. There's also some older Barbie-related pieces, including the Sunset Malibu Skipper there in the blonde and the orange bikini. Several different generations of Peanuts-related lunch boxes. Full of Stanglebirds. I have to say, after seeing the Wade bird, I think Wade was a little more attentive to detail. Ah yes, Whitecaps 84, the last year of the original team. The wonderful color this guilloche lavender set is from the 1930s. Lamp with the fellow trying to get the horse to break is really quite stunning from about 1890. First Pyrex I've seen, you do see some patterns that you don't see so often in the States, including this one with the dice by Fire King. That's pretty neat. This is English. It's a really fun pattern. A friend of mine in New York went to England, went to one of the flea markets there and shipped a whole set of this back. It's called Homemaker from the 50s, with all that great 50s modern furniture and housewares. I've seen a lot of Wedgwood, not a ton that's noteworthy, but I always like the heart-shaped boxes, and they have a pair there. Fun leather pieces from about 1910 when pressed leather was really popular. These are Vancouver souvenirs. Smoke Up. I think you would have hung fights from that. That's for your ties. A lot of women wore ties at that time too, little collar ties. Very pretty Japanese Leicester 1930s child set in the box with the peacock painting. That's unusual. I also really like this child's dish from Germany from about 1920 with the roosters. Now we saw toothpaste pot lids before. These are anchovy pot lids, and this is what people would do, and in some cases would frame them and hang them on the wall. These are Prattware from the late Victorian period. They did very fun transferware with a lot of detail. They are asking $35 each Canadian. They also have a bunch of old telegraph keys here. These folks have a lot of very nice silver pieces. Old textured street map of San Francisco Bay. It says that this is from about 1905, shortly before the fire and earthquake. And you can see the city isn't that developed then compared to what we think now. Such wonderful glazes on this. Cool Pottery from England did the most amazing bright glazes at this time around 1970. There's the mark on that. I wish we could find more of this. I rarely see it, and people here certainly know what it is. I never see it inexpensively. Wonderful telephones here. The pink is just fantastic. The condition is so good. I believe this is an automatic electric. Of course, Northern Telecom is something we see made here, but we also see American-made phones like these. AAA was also here as the Canadian Automobile Association. You see a bunch of car badges from then. These appear to be 19th century Staffordshire Spaniels. Notice how narrow. Glass eyes. Also some cracks because they had trouble firing them. They had to end up putting large vent holes in them so that they wouldn't crack in firing. What a wonderful show this is. Bigger than I expected. took the whole 3 hours I had. I got to do the preview, and we will go shopping in some other places in Vancouver, but wow, I ended up with a lot more stuff than I expected. It's always fun to shop in a new place, and I will have to come back to this show again.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.